So, welcome everyone. This is episode 69. I am here with my friend Amanda Teo, and she is absolutely amazing. We met this summer with my friend Nick Speed, who runs Ujima STL. This is a nonprofit that I'm a board member of. I'm hella proud of and excited about. And it was a float trip, a little adult float trip, and it was adorable. And we totally vibed like immediately. And I was like, Amanda, I want you on the podcast. And so here she is. So, will you please introduce yourself, girlfriend?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Teo, and so I'm Esalen. My tribe is in the Bay Area. We kind of span like Monterey, Carmel Valley, Big Sur, and I'm also Mixteca from the Oaxaca area. But I've been displaced here in the Midwest for a hot minute. So been here for a while. I am a mother. I have 9 kids. So I have 5 that I birthed. I have 4 that are my bonus kids. I am a community healer and a doula. I also work in philanthropy. I kind of call myself like a people's philanthropy advocate. Like as much as you can advocate in philanthropy as possible, I try to do. And I don't know, I'm just like a person, I'm like a jack of all trades. Like I kind of like collect certificates. I like have my yoga certificate. I have studied a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like a forever learner. I'm always just bringing in information all the time. I have like 6 jobs and 100 kids and a husband and some dogs and there's just a lot happening.
Yes, she brought everything, which is exactly what I wanted. Girl, hell yeah. Okay, so I got like several things that I love about you. Okay, so the first one is your ancestry, girl. Will you share a little bit more about your tribes?
Yeah, yeah. I was born in Monterey in California, and my tribe is Esalen. It's often called Alone, and we were like supposedly extinct, which is crazy because I'm
Right.
here. So that's not true. But we were mission Indians, and so all of my relatives were enslaved on the missions. What you see kind of like in Carmel Valley, like some of those big churches, what you see when you go to the wharf in Monterey, you'll see some buildings that were built there. Those were all built by my ancestors. And the tribe itself, we've gotten back over 2,000 acres in Monterey. And we're continuing to try to get back acreage, and we're just doing ceremony, trying to bring people back to the land. Like so many of us are displaced. Monterey is so expensive, so a lot of us don't live there. But just trying to bring folks back. And yeah, that's like the short version of Esalen people.
Oh, beautiful, girl. And this really hits for me because I grew up in the Bay Area, like San Francisco. And so growing up in like elementary and school, elementary stuff, they will teach you the history of the missions. We had to like build a mission, but it's obviously a very brief, like politically correct version of the history. So to
Right.
meet a woman who literally multiple generations were like born there, built the fucking churches and the buildings. They assigned everybody a church that you had to go and build a model of and present and shit about. It's really like sad, first of all, slavery. And then second of all, the displacement where it's like, fuck, dude, everybody has left. Like you took it from us. And then you
Mhm.
forced us out of here. And now we're trying to bring people back because this is our land. But to get acreage is really important. And that's something that I love about Ujima is that they're buying land. Like
Yeah.
the land is so important, girl.
Yeah, and that's what you see happening in LA right now is actually what the tribe is doing, which is we're trying to bring back cultural fires. And it's like if there wasn't, I mean, there's a whole slew of reasons that go into what's happening with these fires, which are devastating to watch, but it's also just like the reality of what colonialism and capitalism does. And it's when you take away indigenous models and indigenous traditions and knowledge, these are the consequences. And I feel
Mm.
like the earth is like kind of screaming back, you know? We're so disconnected. Like how is it not screaming back at us?
Ooh, girl, yes. Yeah, when I did my deep dive about Hawaii and like what lands they were targeting and taking and burning down, those were the ceremonial kingdoms, literally. And then to think about LA and how there's this big movement to push the black and brown part of LA that is just totally wiped from the Hollywood experience. And it's like, damn, you guys really have no respect. So it's no
Yeah.
wonder that there's fucking earthquakes, storms, and fires. The earth is like, what do you mean? This is my house.
Right. And I feel like it's like any kind of relationship that you have. When you're disconnected from your kids are throwing a temper tantrum. And that's not what I think is happening with the earth, but I do think it's a call to be like, there is a disconnection here, and I am responding out of grief. How is that not grief? How is this not Creator Mother's Earth response? So I am feeling deep grief from lack of connection. Here is all the grief. Like, I don't, that's how I see it at least.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Because we can't be silent. We can't be silent. The modern woman is kind of trained to be silent, to not make noise, cause problems. But Mother Earth doesn't work like that.
Right.
She's wild. And the way that you're talking about this is her response to how she's been treated for generations, lifetimes. Enough is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you see it all over. It makes so much sense to me when I'm speaking it out loud. What we saw happen in Ferguson and with the uprising, it was people's collective grief being expressed. You can't condemn what grief is. There's no condemnation for it. It's just, it is. And I feel like 2024 for me personally was leaning into my own grief. It's so much easier for me to see how animals, how earth, how land, how things are just responding to what is collective grief.
Mm. Yeah, and grief looks different for so many, but regardless, it needs to be expressed. Period.
Right.
Like, what
Right, right.
happens when you don't express grief?
Yeah.
Like, the next stop is not pretty, so let's just handle it here and let's just let it breathe, let it have the attention and reverence that it deserves so we
Yeah.
can repair.
Right. Literally.
We have to
Yeah.
repair.
Yeah. That's
Gotta
next.
do it. Oh, girl, I love that. I love that so much. And will you share a little bit more about the Mixteca tribe in Oaxaca?
Yeah. To be honest, those roots are I'm further away from those roots than I am anything else. The Mexican side is very collective of just like a hodgepodge of different people. And so even my traditions are more Nahuatl, but we're not Nahuatl. Mixteca is not Nahuatl. So that one's just a little harder. And I think it's kind of hard to also pinpoint where that comes from because so what happened is I have this whole lineage of this Mexican side, but what was happening in California actually was that there was you could shoot Native people on site and they pay you $1 to shoot Native people on site. And so that was happening. And then not too long later, they were deporting anyone who was brown. There was a huge deportation of Mexicans, but they also were deporting Native people because we all look very similar.
Yes.
Um, and then you had boarding school. So you had like all of these things happening, right? And so Native people started kind of marrying into Mexican families, started passing off as Mexican. And so while I can like trace my roots back to the 1500, I can do all of this thing because in one scenario, I have been lucky enough to be able to trace my roots because the Catholic Church was so obsessed with Native people that they documented everything. Like everything was documented. And so I am able to trace my roots back as far as the 1500s to Mexico. It's harder to say what came first, what lineage came first, or how did they come about because of this intermixing out of necessity. I'm a little bit more distant from that side.
Girl, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that you talked about how the natives are different than the Mexicans. They might look alike.
Yeah,
However, there's a difference. And I think a lot of folks even have an issue with what does indigenous mean? Latinos and Hispanics, we don't even speak Spanish. That shit was forced upon us, literally.
yeah.
So before that, what were we doing?
Yes. No, that's something, at least in the Native community, that I've experienced has come up a lot, which is around indigeneity. And I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, Indigenous people are Indigenous. That's just all there is to it. We don't have to have some colonial mentality of borders. I don't give a fuck what side of the border you're on. Like, you're Indigenous. You have a profound, deep-rooted connection to Earth to protect, to be in a reciprocal relationship with the Earth. I don't care if you're Native or Indigenous, you are this. And when we were talking about Mexicans, what we were really talking about is rich Spaniards at this time. Like they were
Mm.
buying up ranchos all in Mexico. But really they were buying up native land. So the Mexicans in that time were typically not in the original, in the first beginning, the
Yeah.
Mexicans typically were rich Spaniards who had been living in Mexico for some time. And then you trickle down and then you had immigration and different things. And then there's a different dynamic of then what you're calling Mexicans.
Mm. Girl, this is good. What I love is that you've got these California roots, but it's also the dark side of California. Not only did this happen with the natives in San Francisco, Angel Island was our Ellis Island. The New York
Yeah.
folks were doing the Italians and the like Irish whatever hella dirty. We were doing the Japanese and the Asians hella dirty. Literally, that was our like first stop island. And I wish that this was talked about more because it's very much colonialism. There's no way around it. You're really picking and choosing who's allowed to be here, who can come in, who cannot, and paying people to organize it.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so crazy because when you are so connected to Earth, when you are so connected to this ecosystem that's around you, it doesn't even allow you to consider what it would mean for me to own this because I'm a part of it. I'm moving the way that the seasons are moving. I'm praying to my water. I'm considering the energy exchange of my food and what I put into the earth and what I receive back. And so it's wild to me that how people got so disconnected from that idea that you're part of this. You are molecularly a part of this whole world. For you to think you have any kind of ownership over it, and then to decide who can be there or not be there, or who is deserving of being on the land you own is just crazy. It's not a concept that was an indigenous mentality, and it's wild to me.
Yeah, the audacity. How dare you think that you run this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Mother Earth. Girl, okay, will you share real quick how are some of the ways that you honor and maintain your relationship with Pachamama?
Yeah. So the kids and I we pray. We do pray every night to the earth. And I actually got this from one of my friends. She's on IG, but her name is Jenny Rivera Bell. And I was at her house and she would every morning she would raise, like open up her day with her kids in prayer. And I was like, "Oh, I need to do that." So I took that and then we kind of started adding some stuff onto it. So I'm learning how to say this in Esalen, but for now we only say it in Spanish. So we'll just be like, gracias sol, gracias agua, gracias tierra, gracias creadora, gracias luna. And so we're like, thank you, sun. Thank you, earth. Thank you, water. Thank you, creator. Creator, creadora. We say it as a female. So, as a female, thank you, woman creator. And thank you to the moon. And so we say this every day, myself and all the kids before we go to bed, just giving thanks consistently to the earth.
Hmm.
I have 165 altars in my house. Like every room has an altar.
Me too.
Every room has an altar. I love being outside and going to the water and really going to the elements when I need support. Traditionally, how we're taught is that the quickest way for you to be connected to the earth is through what you consume. So just also making sure that you're eating traditional foods, drinking traditional drinks, and just trying to be as conscious as you can about what you're consuming. And then I would say also just praying. I do pray over water. I try to remember to pray when I drink it, but also I'm like drinking it so quick. Sometimes I don't. Just praying over the water, I think is a big one.
Girl, that's glorious. Going to the elements when you need support. You just
Yeah.
need to be there. You need to spend time out there, and you'll be surprised. On our float trip, girl, I was a brand new woman. By the end of the river, I was like, holy shit, I just had so much released from me. And like, we need to do this more often. And allowing the children to come when you've got the energy to like do
Yeah.
that. And, even if it's just you and the homies to start out with, man, those ripple effects, that gratitude, that synchronization with their circadian rhythms and the sun and just the sound healing of the wind and the trees, the water on the riverbank. It's so perfectly clear and organized. Nature is perfect. And so when you go out there, you get attuned to this perfect frequency and it just clears you of all the human mental garbage.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. So I feel like, I mentioned this before, but 2024 was a huge year for grief for me. It was the first year that I really started to grieve, not just myself, but grieve all the things that I've carried in my womb that don't even necessarily belong to me, but are of my lineage. And so that connection with water, spending time with cedar was really, really important for me this year. I mean, if I wasn't in a river, then I was by the ocean or by a lake. I was just we were in it. We were in water. Like
Yes.
in it because I really needed some support with carrying that grief. I think it was something that I wasn't, one, I didn't have a lot of knowledge, I guess, on how to really carry the grief and just needed some support. Yeah.
Yes. And, we're both yoga teachers. And when you just lay on the mat and let the earth just hold you, and it's like, okay, unclench your muscles, like
Yep.
let yourself be heavy, melt, melt, melt. And then to do the same thing in water. I remember being in the Dead Sea in Israel and being like, damn, there's so much salt in here and sodium that I'm floating like I've never felt before. And just to feel
Yeah.
that support without people and just you, I'm fully here is divine.
Yeah, because it's all the elements and it's all of the ancestors holding you at one time. And I mean, it's so crazy because it's like we always talk about the memory of nature, the memory of water, the memories. It makes sense that we would go to something that has such a long history, that has seen so, so, so very much, that has experienced so very much, that has been used for and against in ways of oppression. Like it's just crazy the way that nature has been forced and manipulated in the way that it has been. And it has this very, very long memory of any creature, of anything that would know how to hold grief. It would be something that has been exposed to it so much. It's a tool, It's a tool in the process of trying to figure out how to navigate it all.
Yes. The memory. I remember when I first heard that this is the same water that was here since the beginning. This water has so much memory, has seen so much, just like you talked about, and we're constantly recycling it, So for you to not pray and give thanks, give it the reverence it deserves is insane. You said the manipulation and used and just the abuse of all these elements, but guess what? It's still here.
Yeah.
It's still here.
I feel like it's a both and. I was holding grief that wasn't necessarily even mine, but I feel like that's what it looks like for us to be in community. And so you see these elements, you know what they have been exposed to, and so it's like being able to hold the spiritual grief all of us collectively. And so it is reciprocal in the way that, yes, I'm giving my grief over and asking for it to be held by these elements, but I'm also in recognition and able to then hold and understand the grief that these elements have also experienced.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's it when we talk about what is community grief, what's collective grief, is that's it. This is it.
Mm. Girl, that's beautiful. Yeah. And thinking about the trees and the fact that we breathe out carbon dioxide and they need that and they give off oxygen and we're over here sharing the air, you know what I'm saying? And when you go to the forest, I love hiking at Castlewood, for example, and as soon as I drive down that drop and I'm surrounded by trees, I can feel hella shit just disappear off of me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so much has happened here. The Civil War was here, the 13th Amendment, the Mississippi River. This is a hot spot too, girl. You know what I'm saying?
A hot
There
spot.
was more pyramids here than elsewhere, and that is not really talked about. There's one Cahokia mound, but the land has really been seriously neglected. And so it's just an honor to meet another mother, another Indigenous advocate, the people's philanthropist. You're a dream come true. And when you hear Amanda talk about her career and like the meetings that she's in, she's like, hey, your ancestors, you know what I'm saying? She will call you out. We need that woman. We need that woman that's not afraid, that's holding it down, that's thinking about it from this greater view.
Yeah, I said I have multiple jobs. So in one of the jobs, they had us take a personality test. I always like side-eyed personality tests. So I'm like, who wrote this? What are they testing me? I'm side-eyeing this. I always have something to say. They already know I'm gonna have something to say about it, but I took it and the result was I'm a connector or something like that. It was talking about basically how I see the big picture and I see how everything's interconnected and how I bring that. And I was like, oh wait, well, okay, that was right. I was like, okay, that one's good. Like we'll go with that one. But one of my gifts has been to really see both the past, the present, and the future, and to see how just interconnected and interwoven all of this is, but how we are also interconnected and interwoven too.
We sure are. And when one heals, you were responsible for doing this beautiful, like, healing section of the building at this Facing Race conference. Like,
Yeah.
it was so beautiful. We had altars, there were herbs, there were instruments, there were sound baths, there was acupuncture, there was a mental health service provider on site so you could just sit down and talk to somebody. It was sensory stuff, clay, bubbles, coloring books. It was insane, girl. And just to be able to provide that, especially when we're doing such intense liberation work, it's like,
Yeah.
man, you have to pour in too. It's got to be reciprocal. So that blew me away, girl. I've never seen a conference care so much about its attendees.
Yeah, that was a highlight. So I did that with Dr. Punch from The Brick and then also Empower Institute and Black Healers Collective, which is a part of Empower Institute, pouring their medicine in there. So it was really cool because you have all these people who are coming from all these different backgrounds of healing or different modalities that are all bringing them into a space and sharing them with one another and then sharing them with the people who are attending as well. Yeah, I've been a part of the Empower Collective since when did Rebecca bring me in? Like 2016, I want to say. So yeah, it's been a hot minute. Just it's it's a group of folks. A lot of us were community organizers, and we kind of started recognizing how there are parts of community organizing that replicates the same systems that we're really trying to fight against. And we were like, something needs to shift. And healing was it, right? This is like 2016. This is before healing
Yeah.
is being talked about. No one is talking about it, but Empower was talking about it. And it started with individual healing and then started with community healing. So I really feel like these frameworks that you see, all these things that you see come out, I'm always like, y'all, pay attention to St. Louis because we have had been doing this and far before 2016. But that is when Empower was established, far, far before that. these types of healing modalities were happening in a community that was such a strong organizing community that realized something was missing. So yeah.
Girl, yes. The community organizers. And yeah, you're right. St. Louis has been doing the work for a long time. And I just love your passion, community, bringing people together, bringing all the schools of wisdom. We're all from different parts of the world, and all of it is so important. For me, I was so emotional seeing the line outside the room wrapped around for acupuncture. And that was a lot of people's first time. And they did 5 pain points, trauma points to help you release grief and
Yeah.
fear and anger. And it was just 5 places here, but it originated during the Black Panther era, girl. And so they did that to help the folks that were doing all this liberation work because they knew it was so fucking hard and it was so deep and it was so generational that just like you with the babies and your children and trying to self heal, we inherit things. A lot
Yeah.
of difficulty, a lot of gifts too. But if we're not honoring that and doing some energy work to move it, like it's not gonna move.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. I feel I feel that. All of last year was me, and I say last year, but I say it lightly because we're still in our year because we don't move into our year until the spring. We don't move into our next year. Was kind of like my own accountability to myself. I have been stuck. There are some patterns that I've definitely been stuck in, and I have to at some point be able to also have some accountability for myself, which is, yes, there's all of these things, and there is a lot, and we were enslaved, and there's alcoholism and adoption and incarceration and all of these things in my lineage, all of these things that have directly impacted me. And this is true. And I still have this responsibility to myself to not be abandoning myself. And that was something I had to like really come to terms with, which is I could be stuck in this energy if I do not make some changes.
That's good, girl. Yeah, yeah, it's easy to be stuck. It's easy to just let everything overcome you and be so overwhelmed. But what's hard is changing.
Yeah. No, that's the hard stuff. But when you sign up, you're like, I'm gonna just be ending all these generational things. Then you sign up for the hard shit and you're like, wait.
Wait a
Let
minute.
me rethink this all. What's this gentle parenting stuff? Why did I sign up for that? So many questions.
Girl, yes. And when you think about the lineage and how many folks, how many parents, two, and then four, and then eight, and then it just doubles and doubles. We have tens of thousands, more than that, just right behind you. And we totally forget, you know what I'm saying? And like all of those folks, every move they made got us to where we are today. So if we don't enjoy life, dance, sing, do the healing practices, or just go on a float trip, or just have great conversations, what was it all for?
Yeah. And I think it's also just it's a pushback against capitalism itself. I always think about it as if I'm not enjoying this life, if I'm not able to fully embody myself, be in my embodiment, then they've won. But fuck capitalism. Like I don't want them to win. You know, I don't I'm not looking for that. So I always try to remind myself every time I get those little voices in my head, like, don't rest, don't do this. No, actually, I deserve this. And as a countercultural response to what capitalism and colonialism is, I'm gonna rest right now. I'm gonna go on this float trip. I'm gonna go dance because I can, because I should, and I deserve that. Just
Mm.
because I am, because I exist.
Because you exist. Yeah, Earth is also about pleasure and experiencing things.
Yeah.
We're not workhorses. We're not mental beings. We are in a body. We are animals at the end of the day. We have seasons too. To ignore that
Yeah.
the Earth has winter. Who wants to start a new year in the middle of winter after all these fucking holidays? Is that really a good idea, you guys? Do you
Yeah.
really think, is that the beginning or is that the end? You know, when you
Like,
slow the fuck down.
right. It's like it's a new year, but I haven't been able to leave my house for 4 days, so happy new year. If I had made all these things like I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna blah blah blah. Well, guess what? I can't because I literally can't even leave my house because of a snowstorm. So that doesn't even it just makes zero sense whatsoever. And we should stop hating winter so much. We should just come through. I actually love winter. I'm happy.
Yeah, girl, I think that was one of my most profound moments of leaving California was coming to the Four Seasons. I love it, girl. It's easy for me to keep track of myself, my progress, my memories, to honor these different seasons. I've always been working with the moon. I'm an astrology girl, but then to really have the cold be hella cold, where you need
Yeah.
to eat soup, you need tea. It's
Yeah.
different than summertime smoothie land, right? Yeah, this has really helped ground me. It's really helped connect me. And growing up, I always imagined and fantasized about the East Coast or the places where they have more seasons. And it's just because it matters. Have you seen the movie Groundhog Day?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
What the fuck? It can definitely feel like that if you're not in an environment that you curate for yourself or that the world curates for you. Because they will curate shit. If you don't take your power back, they will tell you what to do all year round.
Yeah, I can't even, because even in Monterey, in the Bay, it gets cold. So at least you're like, okay, it's cold. I can follow this. But like SoCal, I could see how you could get caught up real quick in that constant go, constant hustle because the weather's always nice. It's like the
Mhm.
hustle is real.
Yes, girl. Oh, well, this has been so beautiful. I know there's so many more things that I want to highlight, but I value you so much. You are a wealth of information. You're such an inspiration, a beautiful speaker, a beautiful embodiment of everybody who came before you. You're such a gift to this earth. And I would love for you to share your final thoughts, key things that you think that we need to know right now.
Okay. Also, thank you. I really appreciate everything you just said. What we're really talking about is just connection, and I think it's really being able to connect and trust that there are people and things and kin and human and non-human kin and lands and water and trees that can hold the emotions that we're going through and that we're really not alone, that we're not alone in it. We're not alone in the grief. We're not alone in and even the happiness, like it doesn't always have to be the negative but the positive too. We're here in this beautiful ecosystem, in this beautiful world that was created for us to really be a part of. And so I think it's just remembering that and really trying to take the time to return to what we were connected to always anyway.
Mm. Mm. Yes. Yeah, the connection. And we were always there. You just forgot. You forgot. The separation is an illusion, and it's all about coming back, coming back. Oh,
100%.
thank you, girl. Okay, so how can folks keep up with you? Will you share the details?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I'm under Amanda Lynn Teo on Instagram. My work, though, which I didn't talk much about, is with the So Joy People's Fund. And we also have an IG, So Joy People's Fund. And then Empower Institute. We have an Instagram too. So, really, any of those places you can keep up with what I'm doing out in the world.
Beautiful girl. Thank you. This has been an honor. I'm so blessed. This is truly a gift. So thank you, girl. We'll see you next
Thank
time.
you. Thank you. See you next time.
If you're looking for the most ethical, powerful, and magical fucking aromatherapy on the planet, so you can be a better bitch and just like totally fucking taken care of, I got the shit for you. I created this skincare line as an extension of my high school senior project. All natural aromatherapy experience because that's what we did back in the day. On our priestess, bad bitch, queen shits, we used oils, the purest fucking oils that not only penetrated your skin, it anointed you. Waking up first thing in the morning, clearing yourself between meetings before you pick up your kids, that's the kind of shit I'm on. Almost like if you were saging, but you don't need a lighter. So let me introduce you guys. These make beautiful gifts. A holiday gift, for a Valentine's gift, or a galentine for your clients, a sister circle, somebody's birthday coming up. I also have an affiliate program. So if you want to sign up and you want to be a brand ambassador for Align with Anna, you get paid. To learn more about that, please go to alignwithanna.com/get paid and let's grow together. You can also shop wholesale, Etsy, and Shopify. As a mom, as someone who really values her self-care and her routine, I use all of these daily, and it's gonna come in a sweet little box. I will put some beautiful tissue in there. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. Shop today.